Please give it up for Pro!
What's up? Mic check. That one sounds kind of low. 1 2 1 2 1 2. All right.
Check.
Oh, sorry. What's up, everybody? I'm going to stand up for the moment. He was supposed to play some West Coast. He did me dirty. Some Nip, some DJ Quick, some Ice Cube. I'm going all the way back, not to, you know. How's everybody feeling? So the panel today is producing and engineering the hits. Check, check. Check, check. Now, the word hits is subjective, right? But really what we mean in definition is producing and engineering high-quality music consistently. The hits will come, or the hits will come, but you have to have these clear and decisive habits, and you have to have the appropriate collaborators, right? So I'm not going to go long because I want to get these individuals up here, but I did want to share some with you. So I'm going to give you some names of individuals that I've either worked with directly and or had the blessed opportunity to just be in the room. And I say that because as you go through your career, no matter what path you choose or whatever your skill set is, being in the room is it's priceless, right? It's priceless. So I'm going to give you a name, and I'm going to give you key words on how I felt in that experience about that individual, okay? Just a few. So, Dr. Dre, perfectionist, elite team, reads the room. Now, the other two you know clearly, but reads the room, I found out that he looks at people for a reaction. That is what he's doing. He's heard the music already. He is looking at the individuals in the room, body language, what they say, head nods, paying attention, not paying attention, foot tap, whatever it may be, that's what he's reading when he's pressing play because he's already familiar with the music, right? So I thought that was like, when I discovered that and watched that, I said, oh, shit, right? So next one, Kenny Babyface Edmonds. That was a hell of an experience right there. I will say effortless and organic. And what I mean by organic, when I was in the room, nothing was forced. Whether it was someone he had worked with before or it was someone brand new, you can just tell that energy is just like, kind of like a comfort, like, don't worry, this is going to be a hot record. You know what I mean? Like no pressure, it's not forced, but he knows what's going to happen at the end, whereas everybody else in the room is like, oh, I better get this right. Oh, I better write this hook right. Oh, I better sing this right. Oh, I better, right? He's just like, we're good, right? DJ Battlecat. Now, if you're not familiar with him, you better get your ass on Google. For me, frequencies. He is a frequency god. And what I mean by that is he's listening to every instrument, including your vocal instrument, and he expects it to hit a certain frequency in production. That is his. I haven't seen anybody like it. It's unbelievable. And another thing about him, even to this day, even he's up there, older than most of us in the room, he's a student. Even if you follow him on social media, he's always giving flowers to the people that he got his skill sets from. He's always seeking out the other masters in the game and trying to learn from them. And he's super established. He's in the room with everybody you can imagine, but he's always a student. He's very public about being a student. He's not, you see him and you see him always learning and stepping his game up. So that's something that stood out about him. James Fauntleroy. If you don't know who James Fauntleroy is, you better study. Just Google that. Seriously, if you don't. If you like Frank Ocean, you should know who James Fauntleroy is based on why you like Frank Ocean, but more so, right? So with him, melodies, which is one of the reasons he's known as a great, fantastic songwriter, but also emotion. So it's the combination of his songwriting being very melodic, but the emotion that exudes from his songwriting, no matter what artist is, singing that. And then the last one, and this one you probably don't know, but I want you to Google him. And I apologize that I didn't get his government name before I came up here, but you still should be able to find him if you Google. His name is Sauce, and Google vocal production. This dude, I don't think, this is no lie, and if you're from LA or been through LA with music, there's nobody that doesn't know him. I have not seen anybody, and I'm saying anybody, be better at vocal production or getting the best vocals out of a vocalist than him. That's all I can say about it. You'd have to Google, and he's probably got YouTube videos up there with some sessions or something, but just phenomenal at bringing out vocals. Yes. Sauce. Yeah, just do Sauce, vocal producer. He'll pop up. Vocal, yes. Okay, let's get to it. Hopefully you enjoyed that little bit. I was just, trying to give you a little bit of something to think about. So first up, Dawson. Where you at? Did he just step out? I heard it. Oh, there's my man. Sorry, the light shining my. Come on out, man. Dawson, recent Kanye West collaborator. He was the engineer. He was in the brick room. So let's give Dawson a round of applause here. Also worked with Boys to Men, local audio engineer aficionado here out of Las Vegas. You pick one, man. Just pick one. Yeah, good. Appreciate you coming out. Next, we got the light killing me. Let me move this. We got Jeremiah. Credits include Kehlani. Got a #1 record with Kehlani, right? Shout out to that. Let's clap it up for that. Lil Wayne, Celine Dion, audio engineer and producer. Come on up. Jeremiah, welcome to the panel. And then we have the duo, the Audibles, Jimmy G and DJ Mecca. Come on up. Credits include Justin Bieber, Sam Smith, French Montana, Ty Dolla $ign. The list goes on. Welcome, the Audibles. And hopefully everyone on the live stream. Shout out to the people on the live stream working through it with us. We appreciate you. All right, we're gonna jump right into it. I know I got to give you guys a second to think. I was gonna load you up with the question. I said, nah, let's keep it organic. How come the snacks are staring at me? What randomness is that? B, did you leave snacks up here for me? Where'd she go? I saw you were gonna get them for me. I appreciate that, Leo. Shout out, Leo. Shout out to Leo. Okay, I'm going to jump into it. I appreciate you guys being here. So the first thing is, I myself, I think stories are an excellent teaching tool. I think that, if you go back to our childhood, if you go back to why Netflix and chill is so cool, is because stories. It's just stories. And I think that, if your mind processes it right, you always pull something that's special or individual to you from a story. We can listen to the same story and pull different information, right? So what I want to do, and try to keep it brief. It doesn't have to be super short, but just brief. I want you guys to share a story, and we can just go down the line, starting with you, and a studio experience with a music creator, artist, producer, co-producer, songwriter, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be A-list, but something that was unique and teachable or learned or experienced that's important for those in the audience to share. You can omit names or any information you need to keep it private if you need to, but just a story that you thought was a great experience and something either you learned from or the people around you, you feel like, oh, if I share this, they'll learn from that.
Yeah, one that comes to mind immediately when we first met, Pooh Bear. I don't know if you guys heard of him. Big, huge songwriter, one of our main collaborators. One of the biggest lessons we learned, I remember the first day me and DJ met him, and people told us, like, he's taking the time to listen to your guys' beats. He never really does this with new up-and-coming people. So we played him a bunch of beats for like almost an hour straight, and at that time, we had never really worked with an amazing songwriter, so
This is like 2009.
yeah. So at the time, we would just put all kinds of melodies in the beats and fill it up, and because at that time we're just trying to satisfy our own selves, and we're playing him these beats that are switching up 3 times and all these melodies, and he's like, "So where's the room for me?" And we're like, "Oh, I don't know." He's like, "You took all the melodies up, you took all the frequencies up the space. Where am I supposed to fit the song?" He's like, "Man, take that sound out, take that sound out." And it got to a point when we started working with him, like we would have a couple melodies, and he would be like, "All right, now step away from the keyboard. The beat's done." He's like, "The beat's finished. You did your part. Now let me add my part." And that's how we learned to like simplify and leave room for a vocalist and make a song instead of just making a beat. And I think that's one of the most important things we learned from him along the way. So
Yeah, that's powerful. DJ, you want to jump in?
What's up, guys? My name is DJ, one half of the Audibles. A good story. There's so many. I look at every song we collaborate on with these artists as snapshots to the story. So when we listen back to these songs years later or, months later, whenever it is, it takes us back to that moment, So there's so many great stories. I don't know. Honestly, there's so many good ones. Seriously. Okay, I remember one. Snoop Dogg. Everyone knows Snoop Dogg, right? Me being from LA, I'm a huge fan of Snoop, like biggest fan. And I remember we were working on this song. He was featured out here in Vegas, and he flew out. He was living out here. His son was going to Bishop Gorman playing football, and then we got all the money together that it cost for it. It was like I think $35,000 in cash. So we're just sitting there with a pile of cash in a duffel bag, waiting for him to show up. And he opens the door, and you just see a cloud of smoke. Literally, like in Snoop fashion, just exactly how you would expect it. And he walks through the cloud of smoke. I feel like he was just smoking out in the studio. Odds On. I don't know what it's called now, but those who know about Odds On, what is it? Hideout. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, the owners will probably kill me, but that's where me and Jimmy met, was Odds On, so I still call it Odds On. But he walks through the studio, cloud of smoke. I'm like, that's Snoop. And then he pulls up a laptop, and while he's working on our feature, he's on ESPN Live. We turn on the TV, and he's doing a live interview on ESPN while he's in the studio working with us. And he's like, "What's up, nephew? You mind if I do this interview real quick?" I'm like, "Of course. What you mean? Like, you Snoop, you can do whatever you want as long as you give us that feature, So, but he opens up his bag, and he pulls out a tower of weed with all different type of flavors, and he's like showing everybody the flavors, telling everybody like how amazing his strains are, and then he rolls up a joint, and then he passes it to me, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, I don't really smoke, but you're Snoop, so I feel like I got to, you know what I mean? It's just only right. So I end up hitting it, and I didn't inhale. I never inhale. I'm serious. I really don't.
No, we believe you. I'm one of those.
But yeah, that was an awesome experience. I mean, we have some crazy experiences that shouldn't be recorded, so that's why I'm not going to bring those up.
That's why I said that disclaimer at the beginning.
But this is one that you guys can learn from. Don't just be a creative, be your own business. And Snoop let us know right then and there. He was like, I'm my own business. You don't have to worry about clearing anything with a label. If I'm telling you this is what it is, this is what it is. And that's how we've always done our business. We've always, if we tell you something, if this was our price starting out with you, 10 years, 15 years down the line, we still give you that price because that's just good business. So
good business. Yeah. Appreciate that. And we're going to go to you, Jeremiah. After the Snoop story, I know we all feel the pressure.
I can't top that. I do Warner camps every year, and it's all a writers camp. And just seeing the process of that, like knowing you're in there with the top writers and producers and just like making history is probably the coolest feeling I've ever felt, of just being in the room and it's like, all right, I know this is going to be a #1 and it's not even close to finished yet. I don't have no cool weed stories. Worked with Wiz Khalifa. He definitely left over an ounce of weed at the studio at the end of his session. It's like, I don't care about that.
There's a theme here today.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Been around a lot of different artists and seeing, the working with the Celine stuff and seeing that's a legend. Like, she's been around forever, and seeing how good she treats people was always cool to me. Like, I started as the front desk guy, and she would still walk in and give hugs and cheek kisses and stuff, and lots of cool experiences.
No, for sure. That's dope. Dawson, are we going to have to lead you to what everybody wants to know, that you can, without getting in trouble, you can just jump into it? Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, we all watched it from afar, so share it with us.
Working with Kanye. If you've heard anybody talk about how he works, it's probably one of the most unique situations, how he's just able to bring basically anybody he wants into the room, even if you're not even necessarily a music creative, and you could still, he's so open to ideas, and he'll take and pull from everything, and there's so many versions of every single song that you heard that's out. There's probably 100 versions of that song, because anytime he has any type of idea, we have to execute that idea and just give a version of it, just so he can hear it and see if that's the take or not, or if that's the version that we're going to go with. And I remember one thing that stood out to me was like Brick, Super Duper Brick. He got invited to the Donda sessions, and he specifically just really liked how he plays his open hi-hats. So he, just because of that one thing, he just like, I love this. If you're getting invited, like you need to be in here in the session. That's the kind of thing, like he's like looking for like these subtle like little nuances that he can kind of just add and like compile and concoct into like this masterpiece. The most like what I learned from it the most, or what everybody can take from it is, execute any idea that you have. I feel like you never really know. Like if you're in a creative space and the ideas are flowing, it's best to try and get those ideas out like as soon as possible, even if you're just recording it on a voice memo. A lot of times he just busts out his phone and he just starts recording. It's usually like a video or something, and sometimes that audio will even be used. He'll airdrop that stuff, and we gotta, Pro Tools, you can import videos, so it's like you import the video, take the audio, slice it, move it, do what you gotta do, finesse it. Like it's literally been done, So.
Wow, yeah. Let's clap it up for those stories.
Can I add something to what Dawson said?
No, go ahead. Yeah, please do.
So to back up what Dawson said, he's absolutely right. We've been in situations, recently for the Donda Project. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if this was the exact moment, but I feel like it was when. Do you guys? Did anybody watch the documentary?
Absolutely.
All right. So there's a scene in there where Justin Bieber is in the hangar with Kanye, and I feel like during that time, Justin played an unreleased record. We've done a lot of records with Justin that haven't been released, but one in particular, he played for Kanye, and Kanye loved the drums, and he was like, "Who produced that?" And then Justin said the Audibles. So then Kanye reached out to us and invited us to the studio in Calabasas. Which, have you been to that studio? No, it's crazy. Like the whole vibe. It's like Jesus back in the day. Like it shrouds the whole walls, and everything like you snack on is like fruits that you just pick up and eat, and nuts, and it is just crazy. And he has like this huge screen that you've probably seen in the documentary where he's like a bunch of visuals and stuff. But to second what Dawson said, if he likes something, he's gonna find you and bring you out, and that's just one situation where that's true for us.
Yeah, I like that. Let's switch over to the technical creative, and you guys can jump in as you want to jump in with this question, because You guys have all been successful. So, the up-and-coming creators or the creators that want to add to their skill sets, they're always like, what tools do you use? What do you prefer? So really we want to go into, what's your preferred DAW? What's your preferred mixing and mastering tools? Really, you can highlight an effect, just something that you feel like, without giving away your secrets, your sauce, right? Something that you feel like helps, whether it's the production, the engineering, the vocals, just something you're like, man, I'll share this with people all the time because they need to know it, because they send me, maybe they send you files that are little suspect, right? Just things they can do to clean up or help in their production or in their engineering. Feel free.
Start over with you, Dawson.
I know. He threw it to you. He was like, no, basically your preferred DAW or mixing and mastering tools, things that are tips for the up-and-coming creators, like things you think that can help them improve their process.
I use Pro Tools. I'm an engineer, mainly first and foremost, so Pro Tools is definitely my DAW of choice. I think it's the best when it comes to recording, mixing and mastering, just workflow-wise. I definitely probably wouldn't use it if I was going to make beats, probably something like FL or Ableton. But regardless of what DAW you're using, they all pretty much do the same thing. It's just really about preference and workflow at the end of the day. So I would just say choose whatever one. If you already started with one, probably just stick with that one and learn it like really well. Unless it's FL and you're trying to record in FL. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I think it's just about really just knowing the fundamentals of like what you're working with at the end of the day.
I feel like no matter what you're using, just learn it to the best of your ability. It don't matter. A lot of people think, I got to get this expensive mic. Get one that you can afford. Learn how to use the shit. I could cuss, right? Sorry.
Sure. Say that shit.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's all about like how expensive these monitors are. No, get what you could afford and learn it. So it's whatever you're using. It doesn't matter the price point. Just be the best you could be at it.
And know its limitations.
Like that, yeah.
Like during the Donnie sessions, a lot of time is literally our MacBook, an Apollo, and a microphone. And we recorded all of that stuff. I even heard Baines, Young Thug's engineer, recorded Young Thug's remote verse on an Aero, which is like the UAD Aero is like a smaller version of the Apollo, and it wasn't even, it was like an SM58, but it wasn't. It was like a Sennheiser, with like a little switch. It was like one of these mics with a little switch on it, and that's what he recorded. It was like, we need the verse right now. So his laptop interface, not even in a studio, somewhere just in the cut.
But still try to understand quality, I feel like. Sorry to cut you
Shout out Baines.
Because I hear some stuff that's out, and it's like you could tell that was recorded on in a toilet or something.
And it sold how many records? I know that's another discussion. But you guys want to jump in on this one?
You said other things to like advice to
creative process, production, the tools.
Yeah.
Tools. Yeah.
I mean, one thing that came to my mind, like I don't know how many you guys produce, but if you're sending something off to mix, get it sounding the absolute best you can before you send it out to mix, and organized, because we work with some of the top, mostly Jason Joshua. He mixes a lot of our stuff. Like we've sat in the room with him, and if these engineers have to spend more time cleaning up what's horrible, that's the less time they can spend being creative on mixing your song the best they can. So it's gotten to a point with us where he gets our stuff sounding damn near mixed before it's mixed, and it doesn't even really need to be mixed, but we just get that little extra shine on it. But it's just very important.
Yeah, Jimmy G jumped my next question. So we're going to just dive into that because I know it's an issue, always a challenge. At least I hear from a lot of producers and especially audio engineers about the file preparation, the processing, what the audio is before it's delivered for mixing and mastering or even some post-production work. So if you can just piggyback on what Jimmy G was talking about, what are your suggestions to individuals that may be sending music off to get, maybe another collaborator even, but mixing and mastering, like what kind of preparation do you suggest? What are the things that you run into that you always have to push back on?
Labeling. It's not that hard to label.
He said, oh, my God.
And, again, that point where he said, where I'll get tracks, and if I have to spend 3-4 hours just editing and trying to make it make sense, I'm not creative at that point. The best thing I could do there is set it down and come back to it the next day because I already hate the song.
That's why
not the song.
No,
but how
honestly,
it was
that's the process.
That's why a lot of people have like the bigger mix engineers, like the Josh Goodwins and Jason Joshua's. They have like 4 or 5 paid interns because they actually sit there and label everything, organize it. You know, the sessions that come into them are just crazy. Like, can't stress enough when you're collaborating with people. First, figure out what DAW they use, and if it's the same DAW that you use. Do we have producers here? A few producers. What about engineers? If you're a producer, you should be an engineer. You should be able to cut vocals in this day and age because not everyone always has access to engineers like them, you know, unless you call them up, you know what I mean? But you guys should be educated in the art of tracking. But besides that, when you're producing records, label it. I know you want to get the idea off, but after you get the idea off, label it kick, label it snare, label it synth pad, whatever it is, label it, and then you're done with it. You know what I mean? You can even they got this new that we just picked up. What is it called? With the buttons. You guys, Stream Deck. Thank you. The Stream Deck. I forgot what it was called, but we just got it. Literally, it does it for you. You just press the button, you click on whatever track you're trying to name, and you press whatever you want to name it, and it just does it for you, and you're done with it.
Take that note.
A simple conversation, communication will always help too. So if you're collaborating or setting yourself off, you know, have a conversation with them. Like figure out what DAW they use, how they want the files, and all that stuff. Like if they want a specific sample rate or bit depth or whatever, you know, just having a conversation will help keep everything organized, I think. But file management, all that stuff, super, super important. You know, like when I'm getting a mix session, I'm not at the point where I got paid interns yet doing this stuff for me. So I literally take days, like a whole day, just like if I'm mixing a project, I'm just mix prep today because I can't be creative during mix prep. It's like I have to get everything got to get routed correctly. Everything has to be labeled so that I can just open it up and create and know where everything's at, know how everything is routed, and nothing is going to stop me from my creative flow. So mix prep and organization, very important, very key. File management, super, super important. Especially, I'm just going to bring up again, like the Don situation. You have so many people coming in and out, and there's files everywhere. And to be able to manage all of that, it's hectic. So it's a really, really, really valuable skill to learn, and just keep practicing now.
I had a session last weekend, and they booked 12 hours to mix 4 songs, which is cool. It's very doable. But there was 3 different people adding in files into the session. So I had about 250 vocal tracks. There was duplicates, there was printed with processing, and I literally took 12 hours just to figure out 4 songs. It was torture. Just 12 hours to prep them, then the next 12 hours to work on the mix.
So you added to that invoice is what you're selling me, right?
It costs you more.
Okay, I'm
too.
just checking.
It definitely costs more.
That was the point he was making. Like, it will cost you more if they actually want to do it. It will cost you more. No, that's great information. So we were talking about the content and the files and the music. And again, this is open to everyone. And you kind of mentioned it, DJ, when you were talking about Snoop. How should an artist or a music collaborator, producer, songwriter, et cetera, what are some of the habits they should have for studio sessions? So not the mix and mastering work, but actually coming in the studio to work, to be folks, especially if they're not as experienced, right? It's a different thing if you've been around the block a few times. You know how to walk in with certain people, read the room, but what are some of the skill sets you see lacking when you maybe work with someone not so established or, you know, constant clients or clients without saying their name that might be established that just have maybe some bad habits that you think the audience should learn from, like don't do that, right? So feel free to chime in.
I got a good point here. The punch-in process. Some people could do it, some people can't. Now it's a trendy thing like to say, oh, I wrote that in the studio and I did bar by bar. Not everyone could do that. Bigger artists, they could do that because they have the budget to be in the studio for 16, 18 hours till they get it right. What I run into is local clients, again, thinking like, oh, that's the cool thing to do. Then they book a 4-hour session. They take 3 hours and 50 minutes to punch in their verse and then expect the song to be done at the end of that session. And it's like, that's not how this works. Like, some people, you need to write. Come in the session prepared, especially if you're on a budget and you only have a certain amount of time to do it.
I've been there before.
Facts.
Yeah, I like to have, like, when it comes to local sessions and stuff like that, I try to have a conversation with everybody beforehand to kind of just see, like, where they are. If they're new and I haven't worked with them, just see where they are at musically so I can kind of figure out, okay, how hands-on do I need to be with this person? This is someone who's been recording for years and is kind of like, because there's artists who know how to utilize an engineer. There's a difference, you know, like someone who can like tell the engineer, I want you to do this, and this, keep that, take punch in here. You know, YSL, how they all record is like, they're like you said, the punching style recording, like they're the kings of that.
They also have budget to do so.
Mumble, words come, and then like they're not punching in where they're supposed to. They'll, okay, mumble, words come, cut, bring that over here. You know, so I think just knowing the type of caliber of artist that you're working with, is this someone who's gonna like where they can kind of lead the way, or do I have to lead the way? You know, do I need to tell them when to punch in? Like, okay, you're running out of breath right here. Cut right here, punch in right here. You know what I mean? So I think, yeah, the conversation, communication is key. It's everything. With your artist beforehand, just to know kind of like what you're dealing with. It's that the whole recording process, that is a technique. It is a sacred process, and if you're an artist, you should really be learning how to record properly and like get the best out of it. At the end of the day, this is a performance. You know, it can be fun. Even if you wrote the whole thing, you know, I would still sometimes, like, depending on the artist, I would still prefer you punch everything in because you can give each bar the amount of energy and character and cadence that it needs versus if you're just trying to do it all in one take, you know. And sometimes, like with me, if I hear them running out of breath, I feel like I'm running out of breath. And I'm just engineering, like, it's been going on forever, and it's like I'm like holding my breath. So yeah.
You want to jump in on that, Jimmy G?
I'm thinking about like some of the best engineers we've worked with. I mean, to give you a one-up instead of just being able to record, some of the best engineers we've worked with have a background in music, so they know timing, and to the point where if someone's vocal needs to be nudged, like, or they're behind or in front of the beat, like, they know immediately by ear that they nudge it as you're going, so when the artist hears it back, it's already where it should be. And I think, I'm sure you guys know, little things like that are going to give these artists like, oh, damn, I've never even worked with an engineer like this. Like, they never had me sound like this. Or it's
taking
more than
the
just
extra step, for sure.
It's more than just recording. It's knowing you got to be in the song, too. I mean, these guys could both tell you horror stories of all kinds of artists, but, like, you got to know, like, if the artist says go to the hook, you got to know where the hook is. Even if there's one hook recorded, you got to be in the song and paying attention at all times. Because, they'll jump to the next person and you may not get the opportunity again. So just be the best you can.
DJ, you want to jump in on some advice for the studio?
That covers everything. I mean, these guys are amazing tracking engineers and mix engineers. We've, been dealing with them for years, and they understand the art of tracking. Like, people ask us to track vocals for them, and we just tell them we don't, because I feel like it's easy to track vocals, but then there's an art to it as well. And if an artist doesn't want to learn how to track vocals, how can you explain what you're trying to convey? Like, we've had artists where they're like, oh, well, right here it just doesn't sound right. Well, what doesn't sound right? If you can't explain what doesn't sound right, then there's a lack of communication here. And as a producer or an engineer, they can't fix those problems. They punch in because they're excellent at fading and making it sound like one cohesive performance. A lot of engineers can't do that necessarily. There's an art to that, and that's with nudging, that's with leveling out the vocals with the gain control, and making it sound like it's one cohesive performance. So if you're an artist or a producer, learn the terminology that engineers talk about in studios. So when you come to the studio, you're able to explain, hey, can you gain that syllable up, or can you nudge that vocal 100 samples to the left or to the right? Learn these terminologies.
I always try to help the artists I work with to explain them that terminology. I work with a lot of people that travel to different studios, and it's like they'll just come back like it didn't sound right. Okay, what didn't sound right? So I want to be able to help the artist and be like, hey, tell the engineer to check the key. Little stuff like that to be able to hear it. Like, okay, that's clearly off. What are we doing here?
And going back, sorry, I have to say this because Jimmy said it perfectly. The best engineers have musical backgrounds. Like, I can tell you a key of a song like that, Obviously, I'm a producer / engineer, whatever you want to call it, but you should be able, if you're an engineer, you should be able to tell a key, because when you stick it in the auto key, that auto tune app, it's not always right. It's like 70% right.
Mixed in key is better.
Mixed in key. Even mixed in key. Sometimes it's off. I'm just like, okay, let me listen, and I can just tell you the major and relative minor just off of just hearing these the keys of songs forever. You know what I mean? So learn how to be able to find the key of a song and the tempo.
For sure. Okay, we're going to jump into questions. We got any questions? Hold your hand out. We'll bring the mic. Oh, right here in the front. Hold on 1 second. We're going to get you a mic so our live stream audience can hear as well. Stealing Dawson's mic. Treat him like that. Kanye didn't treat him like that. Wait, let me pause you. Tell us your name and what you do, and then ask your question. Thank you.
I was going to get into that. I can tell you. But anyway, my name is Sabi J. I'm a producer. I'm a singer myself. I just want to ask about the importance of mastering a track. I know there's a lot of websites out there that tell you, you can send a song for whatever price and they'll master the song and give it back to you. In my experience, it's better for me to actually sit with somebody in the studio and master the song. I know you guys mix and stuff like that, and our producers. I know a lot of times somebody else masters the song. What's your opinion on mastering a record?
The only online service that I personally vouch for is Aria, only due to the fact that it's printing through real gear. It's not just an algorithm. You could make changes. You could add bass or top end. The unfortunate part is a lot of people don't understand the difference of mixing and mastering. Like, I get people that they're like, hey, how much to master that song? Like, it's not even mixed yet. What do you mean? And really, as a engineer, a lot of local people aren't going to want to pay, like, you have to master. You can't just mix it. They want it done. They aren't going to pay for another person to master it. But, yeah, I would say stay away from the online things, and as well as if you have a bad mix, the master's not going to do anything for you. Like, the mix has to be there, and then the master is just there to enhance further.
Okay, we go. Anybody want to chime in on that? You get?
I think the importance too is getting it to a certain loudness. That's super important. I mean, it always makes me think of Jason. I don't know how many times I've heard him say, "Did you hear this mix? It's 3 dB lower than everything in the club. They're going to get killed." And like, if you're not competing with what's out, then your song's not going to hit as hard. You know what I mean?
But also understand that streaming services turn your stuff down to a certain level. So what I try to tell people, they're like, I want it louder. And it's like, don't sacrifice your quality and have a distorted track to say it's loud, because no one is ever going to hear it that loud.
I was going to say exactly that. But to add to what, since you're a producer and an artist as well, it starts with the source material. Source material, good gain staging, and be able to build it up to that level, then you get it mixed. I know you're focused on mastering, but a master is only going to be as good as its mix, and a mix is only going to be as good as the source material. So make sure that the source material is great gain staging, great mix, then that master. Aria, shout out to Colin Leonard over at Sing Mastering, who invented that robot arm. It's literally a robot arm that's turning all of the mastering gear to master the record. So check it out. It's called A-R. It's just like Aria the Hotel. A-R-I-A. So.
All right, let's jump to the next question. Thank you, fellas. Right here.
Hey,
Good.
thanks for coming out to talk to us. My name is Mira. I'm an artist and I make melodies and all that. So quick question. So you know how there's how labels sign artists, and now I'm just starting to realize that labels are starting labels sign producers and engineers and stuff like that. So just my question is that if you don't want to be on the back burner, is it better to make more trendy music or more original music?
That might be for the audibles. I think that's just leaning toward you guys a little bit more.
I mean, you should make the music you love and you believe in first and foremost, and the people are going to decide whether it's mainstream or whatnot. And I don't know, we always have just gone off if we love what we're making, there's a good chance other people will. Everyone's not going to like everything, you know. So you just got to enjoy what you're making and have fun with it and make what you love, and hopefully it connects.
Yeah, we go off the Goosebump method. We did a record called Intentions like last year it was Justin Bieber featuring Quavo, and we made it in our friend's kitchen, on his kitchen counter with our speakers, or his kitchen table on the speakers, and we were just sitting there like trying to make the greatest record that made us feel the most amazing a record could possibly feel in tempo. We weren't worried about trying to get it placed. We weren't worried about trying to create a number one record or none of that. We just wanted to make something that made us feel amazing and gave us goosebumps. And we attach ourselves to every record with that method.
And let me jump to our last question. I'm going to have to squeeze two, and you guys might have to try to catch him by the side. Let me go in the corner because he's been tucked behind the back, way in the corner.
So, of course, there's going to be a range, like, between different types of music, but as an engineer, what would you say for a good master? What level, in terms of decibels, would you say is too quiet, and what level would you say is too loud? And I mean, of course, there's going to be, like, range between a dead and like future, but, like, what would you say as far as a master?
I know Spotify and Apple, I think they play it at about -11 to -13 LUFS. I might be wrong on exact numbers. So I tend to send final product at like -9 LUFS because that's a good point that I've learned, and they'll turn it down slightly, but it still cuts through and hits really well. There's also ways to trick it with like certain soft clippers to where it doesn't read as loud, but it's going to play a little bit louder. But when I get people that are sending mixes at like or masters at -5, -7, and it's just distorted as hell, then it's like, what's the point of that? It's never going to be played that loud.
I agree. Yeah, 100% same thing. I think you're talking about like the final end product.
Right, because like typically I aim at like -14 and somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I'm like around -10, -9. Yep.
But like, decibels, where would you say that would be?
Decibels? I don't know. I guess it would be 0, right? Because it's like it's hitting ceiling, right? Am I?
-0.1.
I'll put a ceiling. I've been recently. I actually learned this from Youngboy's engineer. I just started putting it at -1. You know, I'm not a mastering engineer, so it's like I just know how to get it loud, keep the integrity of the mix, and clients are happy at the end of the day. I'm not a mastering engineer, though.
All right, and we got to wrap it up. Let's give a round of applause for Dawson, Jeremiah, DJ, and Jimmy G. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Is it you, B? I know you were walking up real cool with the can. I thought it was a commercial.
Thanks for having us, Greg. Whenever. Let me know. We got you, bro. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Before you leave, we got to take a picture, okay? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Before you leave, let's take a picture.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to leave now. You got this? I know.
Let me get a mic.
Thanks for getting those snacks off the stage, Leo.
Okay. Woo, I love getting techie.
Check.
I said I need a microphone and a half.